So it's officially OUDVEMBER, so I figured I'd go ahead and do a Oud weekly rotation. We're on week 3. Let's hit it with the Ouds. Yep, it's officially OUDVEMBER, and I have had some Oud fragrances in and out of my rotation through the years, and I actually have more now than I ever have. So the weather was kind of all over the place. I mean, it was a little warmer on some days, a little cooler on some days, cold on a few days. Well, not necessarily like cold, but some evenings were really cold. So I had to pull out some of the lighter Oud fragrances as opposed to some of the big guns. Now, towards the end of the week, it was getting cold, so I was able to, break out some bigger guns. And we'll get to all that. We're gonna start with Sunday with Oud Vanille. It was in the upper 50s on Sunday, partly cloudy. We were actually in here filling, so I was in and out. But I didn't get any compliments. Cliff didn't tell me how much he liked me smelling.
Oh, he was sexy, y'all.
Yeah. So yeah, Aoud Vanille was actually one that was picked as a men's winter date night fragrance by Desiree, but then she wound up like pooping on it when it all came down. Now, if you guys haven't seen that video, I know I've talked about it in a couple other videos, but I am still getting comments about those dry downs. Okay. Tell you the story one last time and I won't ever say anything else about it again. If you don't get it, you don't get it. We got together a week before we filmed. Openings, dry downs, went through, it took us 2 or 3 hours to go through all those. Then we had a refresher course after we picked the 10 that we were gonna use, went over them again. The problem was we had never filmed together before. It was only our second time sitting down recording for this channel to begin with. So, I don't expect you to cut me any slack or anything, because every video after that, we got so ridiculous, we actually did time lapses with the dry down. So, long story short, that's how all that came up. Go back and watch it. It's a great video. So this 2015 release from Mancera is a very nice fragrance. Some people don't like it, some people love it. I personally love it. It obviously is gonna have oud and vanilla in it with a name like Aoud Vanille, but there are also some florals in here, some sandalwood, some saffron, and some cardamom. Now, those are the primary notes, is the oud and vanilla, and you definitely get some hints of the saffron and the florals in there. Very unusual fragrance, but yet at the same time, sexy as all get out. I would say it would be good enough for a date night fragrance. I would wear it on a date, but it would have to be with somebody that I've already adjusted to a little bit, because it is a little bit strange. It does open up slightly synthetic, as some of the Manceras do. I still love this fragrance. Monday, it was still in the upper 50s, but still, it's nice and crisp outside. So I figured I would go with a sexy gourmand from Robert Piguet. This one is called Eau de Lis. This is a really, really good fragrance. I don't hear a whole lot of talk about the brand of Robert Piguet. I have smelled about 5 or 6. There's like Nightbridge, a couple of other ones that they're known for. There's a leather one, I forget what the name of it is. But if you've not had a chance to try this Eau de Lis, it is very, very delicious. It is, even how they market it is like a sexy, gourmandish type fragrance. This one has a unique note breakdown. It's got some caramelized amber, some figs, some vetiver, a slightly earthy patchouli, and it also has some resinous woods, the oud. Very, very sexy fragrance in my personal opinion. I'm not saying it's for everyone, but this is definitely one that you would either like latter part of fall or in the winter, and we're in the latter part of fall here in North Carolina, so we have had some unusually cold weather, so this has been a perfect fragrance. It has been my SOTD a few times. And as far as compliments go, I was able to reel in one compliment, which is not too bad, but I have pulled more compliments with this, but again, hey, can't win them all. Tuesday, I broke out the 2018 release from Initio Parfums, Oud for Greatness. straight off the Illuminati's playbook there with the all-seeing eye. This fragrance did have a lot of hype when it came out. Everybody was just talking about it. It's like Baccarat Rouge with Oud. Now it's like Calana's Baccarat Rouge. Greenwich Village's Baccarat Rouge. Tiziana Terenzi's Spiritino Florentino is Baccarat Rouge. I mean, it's like everything is Baccarat Rouge 540. Come on, guys. Y'all really killing me with that. Really bad. Really bad. Mancera Instant Crush, another one. It's like, if it has BR 540 in the first 30 seconds to 3 minutes, it's a BR 540 clone. It don't matter what it does on the dry down. Mind blowing. Anyway, Initio Oud for Greatness is a great fragrance that I have not broke out since last year. This is the first time I have worn it since winter of last year. This is a strange fragrance. It don't pull a lot of compliments. I did not get a compliment Tuesday to speak of. It was 58 degrees was the high Tuesday. It was slightly overcast. I did do a 1, 2, 3 with it. I like the way I smelled, but I don't think, I mean, nobody said, man, you stink. Because this is a cool fragrance. I like it, and the presentation is the bomb. All seeing I was watching you. Wednesday, the temperature ticked up a bit. It was 63 degrees was the high here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I broke out one of the, I mean, like as far as people liking Manceras, this is probably one of the, if not the most loved, probably one of the most loved. It's Aoud Cafe. I think the coffee note in this is what everybody likes. It's what I like anyway. It's got like a really dark and rich coffee note in the opening. I'd say kind of like an espresso, but you also have like some vetiver in there that gives it just a slight little freshness. You got some oud and some sexy musk, and you also have the obvious woody notes from the oud. It is not an animalic oud whatsoever. If I was to bet, I'd say it was probably just an aroma chemical of oud, but it is not an off-putting scent. I like it a lot. If I had anything negative to say about this fragrance, it's kind of linear. I mean, it just does what it does from start to finish with a few little variations during the dry down. It don't do a whole lot, but I like what it does from beginning to end, so it works for me. I'm sorry I did not get any compliments with this, but I have got complimented with this fragrance in the past. Thursday, it had cooled off just a little bit. It had dropped about 3 degrees. The high on Thursday was 60 degrees. I broke out another one that I haven't worn in quite some time, and this one is a compliment beast. It is Honey Aoud from Montale, and I'm gonna go ahead and pull that pin out so it don't make a bunch of racket while I'm talking. These are noisy little bottles, but some of these fragrances I really like, and this is one of my favorite from Montale. Really, really good. It's nice and sweet. The honey in here is absolutely beautiful. Honey Aoud is definitely more of like a gourmand oud, if you will. But it's slightly different from like the Oud de Lis. The Oud de Lis just goes in a completely different direction. This one has sweetened oud. It also has honey and cinnamon and then some slight little woody undertones. The primary 3 notes that I get on this fragrance are honey, oud, and cinnamon. Just a fun fragrance that will definitely pull compliments. In the air, this fragrance does a lot. It has massive projection and fantastic performance. That's why I like fragrances like this. And for an oud fragrance, and probably out of all these here, this one is probably one of the more easier ones to wear, especially, you know, like when it's really, really cold outside, with the exception of maybe like the Oud Cafe. Friday, I figured I would go with the theme of Friday. Y'all remember that movie? When he's talking about, it's Friday, you ain't got crap to do? You know what they're talking about doing? This is a fragrance that's got a little bit of puff puff give in it. It's got oud and cannabis. This one comes from the house of Matriarch. It is Black #1, aka Blackbird. The cool thing about this fragrance is a few cool things. They got some cool stories behind them. It was actually released in 2012, and it was listed in Men's Journal as the #1 sexiest fragrance in Men's Journal. The perfumer for this fragrance, Christy Meschel, was actually inspired by the band Typo Negative, with a song called Black Number One, Little Miss Scare-All. So I saw that, I was like, that's kind of cool, because actually, like, I had never heard of Typo Negative until I went to a Queensryche concert. They had Typo Negative opening up for them, and I don't know what they tune in. You know, like Korn use like drop D tuning. I think these guys use like drop Z tuning, because it's just like. But if you think of like the Cannabis and you hear something like that, it could be like a pretty wild trip. But all jokes aside, this is a pretty sexy fragrance. I always pull compliments with this, and I just completely forgot about how well this thing does. Sexy, sexy fragrance. I got 3 compliments with this little beauty right here. This one has some conifer, some seaweed, some cannabis, some oud, and if that ain't enough for you, some leather. So yeah, it's very, very masculine, even though it is considered to be unisex. Saturday, I woke up to about 58 degrees and rain. I had already planned what I was going to be wearing, so I wore it because I knew I had to round out my Oud week with one of my favorites from MFK, Oud Satin Mood. I have done a full review on this fragrance, and it is full review worthy. Now, we also had this on our collab with Andrew not too long ago. This was one of the fragrances I just put in there. Now, it was a date night fragrance thing, and I did throw a couple strange fragrances at her. This is actually something that I would wear on date night, but definitely not a first date or anything. There is a very, very strong, pungent aspect to this. It has got some vanilla, it's got some fruitiness to it, and the oud, but it is one of those fragrances that up close can be very, very cloying, and in some cases, nauseating. Now, I know using MFK, Oud Satin Mood, and nauseating in the same sentence could be like a cardinal sin, so please don't get it wrong. You guys who know anything about this fragrance know how strong it is. So yeah, 1-2 sprays is probably what anybody would need. Considering that we were almost, just right below 60 degrees, I did go with 1 spray on the neck and just 1 on the wrist. That way I can kind of like that. This one has some oud, some rose, some vanilla. I did pull 1 compliment before I got off work at 12. That was it. But I have actually, literally, not too long ago, I was walking around in Dollar General and had this on and pulled 3 compliments. 2 were from people who worked there. 1 was from a customer. So this one would definitely pull your compliments, but just please, please go easy on the trigger. As my bedtime scent, I had to break the ouds. I couldn't think of anything that I really wanted to wear to bed. So what I'm gonna do is give you my bedtime scent, and then I'm just gonna give you a bonus oud fragrance that I haven't talked about yet that I feel like is worthy of talking about. But my bedtime scent was one that kind of fell off the radar not long after it was introduced, is Greenwich Village by Bond No. 9. In my personal opinion, this is the best Bond fragrance out there. This is another one. People are talking about it was a BR540 clone. Where y'all get that from? I don't know. Maybe y'all puffing on some of this, I don't know. This is so good though. It's got like mandarin orange in the opening. It's got some praline. It's got some peony. This is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful fragrance. Very calming and relaxing. Get out of a hot shower, spray this on, lay down in some nice, fresh, snuggled sheets. Like, this is a really, really good fragrance. I know it's not an oud fragrance, but just throwing y'all my nighttime thing. Okay, the bonus oud that I wanted to pull out might be for somebody who is new to either oud fragrances or new to the fragrance game, period. This is Hugo Boss Bottled Oud. This fragrance doesn't get a whole lot of play, don't get a whole lot of talk. I see it pop up as a scent of the day once in a while, but this is a fairly good fragrance, especially, I mean, as far as like a oud fragrance for the price that it is. I just checked on fragrance.net. They have their 35% going on right now. You can get a 1.6 bottle for $38.99 or a 3.4 for $57.19. And of course, I have the option of Afterpay where you make like 4 installments like every other week of $14.30. I have not personally used Afterpay, but Cliff just went ahead and like got set up on it. And I think it was my brother. I think he thought that they did like a soft credit check or whatever. But in all actuality, all you have to do is put your card number in there. It has to be a valid card, obviously. Don't y'all be getting all, go get you one of them prepaid cards and use it up and then try to use that. Use a legit card. But that's a good way to like, start making a small investment on building your collection. I think the Afterpay is pretty slick, smart marketing, but I think you need to spend like, I don't remember if it's like, I think it's like a $50 minimum or $40 or something like that. Either way, just look at it. Fragrance.net's got it, check it out. I think the thing that would be questionable about this, it does say that it's 100% oud. I don't know if they mean that 100% of the oud in here is 100%, if you know what I'm saying. They might like just dribbled a little bit of 100% oud and probably wrap some, oud aroma chemicals around it. That's just my guess. But it is masculine. It's a sexy fragrance. It has some apple in it. It has, like a slight little freshness to it. It's got some woodsy undertones and it has some citrus. So it's not a bad put together fragrance. I'd actually thought about putting it in the rotation. It didn't quite make the cut, but I did want to mention it, especially if you're a newcomer to ouds. This would probably be an inexpensive, nice oud fragrance to begin with. This one does open up a little bit citrusy. I sprayed it on my hand too. On the dry down, you can actually smell like just a little bit of like bitter green apple in there, which kind of gives it a nice little, who would have thought to throw apple and oud together? I would say that probably the majority of this is like aroma chemicals or whatever, but they did a good job of blending this. And Hugo Boss bottle, for the most part, the majority of everything that I've smelled from that line is pretty decent, especially at the price point. Happy OUDVEMBER to you, and that is gonna wrap it up for my weekly rotation. Don't forget, be disruptive, wear what you want, when you want, have fun. Make sure that you're subscribed to Carolina Fragrance Reviews, activate that notifications bell, smash that like button, leave some comments down below. We will see you next time on Carolina Fragrance Reviews.